Hey guys, in this Lightboard session I want to give you a brief introduction into two products. One is from SUSE, which is called SUSE Rancher, and the other is from HPE, the HPE Data Fabric. And I want to give you an understanding why, in my opinion, these two products should work together. I don't want to dig into the product yet, we will do it later. First I want to set up the scene. So what we are talking about, so we have a clear understanding what to do. So let's imagine that we have a customer who wants to host an application or multiple applications on a Kubernetes environment. To host such an application, he would require additional applications like a database, like a web server, like an object store or a message bus, so to work together. So this is the use case. We are hosting, in our example, two applications. The application requires a database, an object store, here mentioned with S3, and web server, and we have a message bus. So let's now talk about the platform. So we have defined we want to host it on Kubernetes. So Kubernetes, yeah, you have multiple locations where to deploy a Kubernetes or a Kubernetes engine. So we can do it in the data center. The first question which customer will ask you, okay, should we do a bare metal installation? Should we use some hypervisor, so a virtual installation? Then there might be the requirement that you want to use the cloud. So there are these big hyperscalers like Microsoft, like AWS, like Google. So yeah, there might be some features from the application required which you say, okay, I want to host it on the cloud. And or you have some branches or some edges where you want to spin up the Kubernetes. And compared to the data center, if you so the edge has always some different parameters like in the data center. So in the edge we have always, maybe we have a limited internet connectivity, maybe we have an air-gapped a data center there. So yeah, the product who's taking care about the Kubernetes should be able to cover that. Okay. And by the way, if customer has decided which location, what we see, it's you don't concentrate on one location. There's always the chance that you have a hybrid installation, which means you have a couple of services in the data center, you have a couple of services in the cloud or on the edge. The next question is how to take care about the data, how to store the data. So we require a storage layer underneath the Kubernetes. And in Kubernetes, the keyword for that is CSI, Container Storage Interface. And the container storage interface provides or offers you different patterns how to work with the data. So these guys have developed access patterns like RWX, which means read, write, many. So that means that the node who's hosting the Kubernetes can access, or multiple nodes, I have to say, can access the underlying storage at the same time. The next pattern is we have RWO, which is read, write once, which is one node and only one node can access the underlying data. And the last one is read only many, yes, which means multiple nodes can access the LAN, but not in a read-write mode, only in a read-only mode. this picture is from 1,000 meter feet or high, I would say, a common approach from our customers. They want to host an application, they require additional services for their application, they require Kubernetes on all locations or on some of them, and they have the question how to access the data with their storage. So that said, I want to zoom in now to the products. Okay, let's talk about Rancher. What is it? Rancher is a management platform for Kubernetes. And Rancher offers you different functionality. And I want to go from the top to the bottom and explain you with the use case where Rancher helps you to solve the problem. So Rancher, or let's start with the use case. So we want to host an application. The application requires additional services. The best approach would be to have a marketplace, and that's what the Rancher guys are doing, offer you a marketplace where you can select in a catalog the required services, so the required application, and then you get a pretty easy form which you just fill out with your parameters, and then you press deploy. And by the way, you can select even which Kubernetes should take care about that. And then, yeah, they deploy it, they have the initial deployment, but they don't stop there. What they do is they help you over the life cycle to maintain the application new versions. The next question is, who is allowed to access these Kubernetes engines? So a normal approach in an enterprise is that, yeah, you configure the IAM, and Rancher, by the way, helps you there. So Rancher has support for an AD. You can even use some cloud services like GitHub. You can have SAML, you have Okta, you have Ping ID. So I would say everything which is required from an enterprise, they cover for you in a simple way. And so they take care who is allowed to access to the system. Okay, last but not least, think about, we have different locations. We have the data center, we have the cloud, we have the edge. What's required is you require a single pane of glass, and that's the approach from Rancher, where you can control and manage all of your Kubernetes distribution. Even they are only consumed from the hyperscaler, you require something where you have a single pane of glass to monitor them. You require a central place where you find your log files. You require a central place for your auditing, and you want to manage the Kubernetes versions at one place. And that's what these guys are doing. Coming to the point of locations. So the SUSE Rancher guys are in a pretty good position because they have not only one Kubernetes distribution, they have many of them. And one key distribution from Kubernetes is the what's so-called Rancher Kubernetes engine, which I would recommend to install it in the data center. Because these guys help you in the management layer to deploy it, so you can create some blueprints, how you want to have it configured, on which location, and then you just press and it will be deployed in an automatic fashion. So for the data center, I would recommend RKE. You can even deploy RKE in the cloud. But what we see from customer side is that they want to use what the hyperscaler offer them. So these Kubernetes engine, they are called RKE, they are called AKS or EKS. So the Microsoft, Google, and the Amazon one. And the SUSE Rancher offers you to manage them as well in the same plane. And so you have the single pane of glass to manage these different Kubernetes distributions. Coming to the last one, which is the edge, which can be a critical one because maybe you have no internet connection at all, or you have limited floor space or no data center at all. You require some different Kubernetes distribution. And they have a pretty small one, which is called KSVS, which is designed to have a pretty small footprint. It's optimized for the devices which are used in the edge. Okay, let's compare to the use case. So as you can see, the SUSE Rancher does a pretty good job for the complete compute workload. They offer you the possibility to deploy it on each location. They offer you a management tool which simplifies everything. They integrate with the existing IAM solution and offer you everything which is required from a service point of view with an easy click and deploy method. So let's go to the storage layer, which can be a beast. So the storage layer is from HPE. And it's a software-defined storage solution, which means you buy a server, put in some storage device into it, like a hard disk, like an SSD or an NVMe device. Then you install on top of it the data fabric. The data fabric is taking care about your data, so it distributes it over the nodes, make it secure for you. And the good point is, if you require more performance, if you require more capacity, you just add additional nodes to the data fabric, and data fabric gets more speed and more capacity. And from a deployment location, you can deploy it in the data center, in bare metal or virtual environments. You can install it in the cloud or on the edge. As mentioned, data fabric is a storage system, but we have added some additional service to the data fabric, which helps the customer to just consume this in an enterprise-grade offering. So we have a file system. As second service, we have integrated a database on a base of NoSQL. So not only SQL. We have added an object store, which is AWS S3 compatible, which means you can use any software which requires the S3 interface. And we have a message broker as well, which means we have a subscribe and publish a feature based on the Kafka API. So any software who is requiring these APIs you can use with the data fabric, and you can access the data with it. That said, let's concentrate how to access the data. So we have different services. So there might be the reason why you don't require only CSI. And yes, we do support the CSI in the data fabric. So you can use any functionality which offers you CSI with the data fabric. But what we see on customer side or on different application, you might require additional protocols like the S3 protocol to access the object store. Or you might require NFS for your server systems. And the HPE Data Fabric gives you the capability to access the underlying data with different protocols. And I think I only missed the HDFS, which is the Hadoop one. So remember, we can scale to petabytes of data. So it might make sense if you have an application which requires the Hadoop interface, not, then you can use the HDFS. And we even have a third-party technology partner, and these guys offer you SMB together, so the Windows protocol, so you can access from a Windows server directly the data on the data fabric, and so you have the SMB protocol there as well. Okay, let's talk about the challenges. The challenges in a distributed deployment is how to get the data. So let's think about, I'm based close to the data center. So I work close to the data center, I can access the data center. There will be some time when I ask, oh, I require the data from the edge. So, and now the problem occurs, right? Because what happens now is, the worst thing is, I call my colleague who is responsible for the edge, ask him, can you somehow provide me the data which is located in the edge so I can access it? Maybe I want to modify them, then I have to copy the data back, which we're wasting time. The data fabric has a pretty good feature for that, which is called the global namespace, which puts all the data fabric installations into one single point where you can manage it. So from a management point of view, you have one single pane of glass to configure it. And from a user perspective, you have the capability to access it with one mount point. So let's do a Linux example, which will be /data fabric. This is the mount point. And underneath, we have the different data fabric installation. So let's say we have one in the data center, we have a couple in the cloud, and more in the edge. So now you can access the data via /data fabric, /cluster name or location name, you decide, /folder structure, which you have created, /the file. This is awesome because now we don't have to copy data anymore. Let's come to the next topic, or the last topic, which is how to replicate data. So we want to move data from the data center into the cloud, or vice versa. We want to transfer the data from the cloud to the data center. Or we want to be on the safe side, we want to have a one-to-one replication from A to B. We have a feature which is called mirroring, data fabric mirroring, and there we can replicate data in an asynchronous way from location A, in this example data center, to the cloud. And we are not limited to a one-to-one relation, we can even further mirror to another location, which can be the edge, or vice versa. Okay, let's compare the picture we want to achieve. So we defined we want to have an application with some services. We want to deploy it wherever it's required, and we require storage with a pretty large feature set. What did we achieve with these two products? So first of all, the Rancher guys, for me, they are the Swiss Army knife for everything which is compute. They offer us as a service, they maintain the software, they deploy the software, they maintain the software, they make the whole Kubernetes, they make it secure to access it, and they deliver a simple management layer for it. Both tools can be deployed in all locations which we covered. And the data fabric is the Swiss Army knife from a storage point of view, because it's not only a file system, it's even much more. It's the database, it's a message broker, it's an object store, and so on. And we can access these with different protocols. And to access data from different locations, they help us not to waste our time with some copy processes. We can just directly head to the right cluster and access the data there. And the last one was we can replicate data from location A to B. So guys, this is awesome. I hope you see the value out of these two products. For me, I want to come to an end now. So I hope you get out some value out of this presentation. Feel free to contact us or reach out to us. There will be an info box after this video how to reach out to us. Thank you.